This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Monday. It is the Morning Drive on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Jamie Lent and Brendan Riker. I'm Chuck Heinz. It is great to have you with us this morning here on the Morning Drive. Look forward to hearing from you today as we come to you from our perch in downtown Lubbock in the First United Bank studio. The thoughts and comments are welcome on the Yates Flooring Center chat line this morning. You can go to doublet973.com for that, or the mobile app. The Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. Well, it didn't really go the way that you wanted it to at all this weekend for the Red Raider baseball team as they lose Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Jamie, it's just, I guess it's, in some aspects, it's close but no cigar, and in other aspects, it's didn't play good enough baseball and didn't play good enough baseball consistently to win games this weekend.
Yeah, you showed some fight there at the end on Saturday and obviously Sunday, but just digging yourself too big of holes all 3 days, and just a blowout on Friday, and then not able to have enough time to come back on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, so it puts you in a really, really tough pickle here because the Red Raiders are now 30-20 on the season, but just one Big 12 series left to go. And I mean, I hate really saying this, but I mean, you're in jeopardy of not making the Big 12 tournament.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, when you look at it this morning, BYU and Houston, Baylor. Most definitely not going to make it. At least that's what it looks like right now as far as Baylor's concerned. They're 9-15.
Well, Baylor's the one that has the chance to overtake you.
Yeah, I guess my other question is, what about UCF?
Well, top 10 make it. So if Baylor, Houston, and BYU, as you just said, are out, then you're not in jeopody of not making it. Yeah,
Baylor, I guess, is the one. Baylor's the one.
Baylor's the one you have to worry about.
Baylor's the one you have to worry about. Yeah, but they would have to sweep, right?
Well, they have 6 games left. You have 3 games left.
Okay, they have 6 games left. I'm sorry.
And they're 3 games behind, and they are 3 wins.
3 wins
behind you.
3 wins behind it. They're even in the loss column, and you just have the 3
left.
They
play 3 at Oklahoma and 3 at home against UCF.
Yeah, and the Red Raiders just have the series coming up with Oklahoma State. So, and so then you also now you kind of look at your NCAA tournament chances, and I guess, man, you're getting to a point almost where you're going to have to really do some damage in the Big 12 tournament, although you may tell me that the RPI is still looking pretty good, but kind of just how you're playing and kind of how things are going, it would seem to me that would be something that would be a little bit of a question mark, that you'd be a bubble team, at least at this point in time.
What's the question?
The question is, do you think – sorry.
Is there a question?
Yeah, there's a question.
Yes, your NCAA tournament hopes are in major jeopardy. Yes.
Bubble team was the question.
Right now, I wouldn't guess you're on the bubble. Right now, I would guess you're off the bubble.
Off the bubble.
On the outside looking in.
So now you need to put yourself in the bubble by going to Oklahoma State and Stillwater and doing a little damage, which, by the way, they have a chance to – They have a chance to do even more damage because they have a chance to overcome Oklahoma, but Oklahoma would have to slide backwards. But still, they're at 15-9, along with Texas and West Virginia, and Oklahoma's at the top of the conference at 18-6 on the season. So, yeah, it's just it's a frustrating cold weekend, rainy weekend. Yesterday was better, but Friday and Saturday.
Yesterday was beautiful.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday were icky, I would say. That would be, is that a good term? Icky? At least Saturday? Saturday was icky.
Friday and Saturday were colder, yes. I don't know.
You want to use the word icky or not?
Sure.
I'm frustrating you early. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be this frustrating early. I really don't. We will have the final edition of Red Raider Baseball with Tim Tadlock on the air tonight. That'll be from 6 until 7 as he'll speak about his team, and they'll have just the series with Oklahoma State this weekend. There's no midweek, and then next week they're on the road to Arizona, which you don't even really want to look ahead to that. You just want to look ahead to this weekend and see what you can do to figure out a way to win a couple of ball games. What kind of was your take on the weekend overall, Jamie?
Really disappointing.
Yeah.
Really disappointing.
Was it one thing or another? I mean, on Friday, it seemed like, when the fifth inning was, I'm trying to figure out which day it was because my days have kind of gone in between. Well, Friday was a problem in the fifth inning. It seemed like you gave him 6 outs. He gave up 4 runs in the fifth inning and really couldn't ever overcome that. You gave up 2 in the first and 4 in the fifth, and then 1 in the sixth and the seventh, and got beat 8-0. Just 4 hits, but you had 4 errors and a couple of them there in that fifth inning that led to extra runs. That was a real problem. And then yesterday, the starting pitcher. Mac Hewer got pulled early, just 2 outs, 2/3 of an inning, and then I heard Coach Tadlock say later on in the game that he had a problem with a lat, so that they were concerned about. So I don't know if it was a combination of if that was the biggest. It sounds like that was the biggest reason why he got pulled, although it wasn't. I mean, he gave up a run there early on, but that's what he said on television yesterday. I don't know if it looked like that to you as well, that he was having a problem with a lat injury.
I think it was 100% about the injury. I don't think it was about him being ineffective at all. He did give up a 2-run homer unearned after he had another error in that first inning. But yeah, it was. I don't think it was anything to do with him not pitching well.
It's just the lat injury.
I think it was the injury.
Yeah, and he talked about that a little bit and said, he felt something pull and they didn't want to risk him any further, which you can appreciate that. Get the young man out and see what's wrong. But that's
just
yet another.
The good news is that it wasn't an arm issue for him.
Yeah,
for Mac.
Yeah, the bad news is it's another pitcher that potentially could be on the shelf. So
just kind of how it's gone for this team this year.
Yeah. Swept at home for the first time in the Tadlock era. Goodness, we're just getting started on the morning drive on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Here on the morning drive with Brennan and Jamie, I'm Chuck. It's great to have you with us this morning. Jamie, it's the first Monday in May.
Okay,
it's the first Monday in May.
All right.
So if you, we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. I won't go into the full specifics, but if you have any highlights or lowlights from the weekend that you want to share with us, you certainly can. We'll be here for your therapy session this morning here on the Morning Drive. Not that we're licensed or anything along those lines, but I think we're good listeners sometimes. I think you're a great listener. I think sometimes I can be a good listener.
Okay. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, no, I mean just listening to people that, maybe want to share their good and their bad, from the weekend. Just want to kind of have a little catharsis this morning.
I don't think I would be a really good psychiatrist or any of that.
No, I didn't say you were compassionate. I said you were a good listener.
Oh, I'm compassionate for the people I'm close to in my life. I just kind of feel like I think I'd sit down. Okay, sit down on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
They'd start telling me stories, and I'd be like, "Why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me that your mother was mean to you as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Why? What have I done to deserve this? Why do I have to listen to this?
You went to college, you got a
Yes.
degree, and then you got an extra degree,
Yes.
and then another one on top of that.
Yeah. And then I would probably say, get over it. Move on, dude. That was 25 years ago. Okay? Get
Grow
over
up.
it. Yeah.
Grow up.
Put your big boy pants on and let's get after it. Sucks to be you. Okay, move on.
Rangers won 2 of 3 over the weekend. Astros lost 2 of 3 over the weekend. So it kind of seems like a relatively typical weekend for those two teams. Rangers beat the Royals 2 of 3 Saturday and Sunday. Yesterday in extra innings. They had a rain delay yesterday that extended that game a little bit. And the Astros dropped 2 of 3 to the Seattle Mariners over the weekend. Rangers now on to their second city of a 3-city road trip, as they'll be in Oakland, take on the Swingin' A's. Now, this won't be their final trip to Oakland because it seems like they're there every other weekend along with the Astros, because they play so many games against them. But
they do.
We'll have it for you tonight at 8 o'clock, and first pitch scheduled for 8:40 tonight from the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. The Rangers are 19-16 after 25 games. So, I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but I guess they can say, we ain't the Astros, right? So that's
that division's kind of been a bit of a struggle so far.
It has.
So that's good news, because that means that although the Rangers aren't off to this, or the Astros off to a blazing start by any stretch, they're both still in the mix. They still have a shot.
Yeah.
They've not dug themselves such a deep hole that they can't get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Astros moved on to New York. The Yankees, speaking of not digging them, they've forced others to kind of play well. I mean, you got the Yankees 23-13, 10 up over 500.
And not even leading their division.
So, yeah, I know, right? You speak about running away with things, if they were in the West, they'd be running away with it.
They lost 3 of 4 this week to Baltimore. Don't do that, and you'd be leading your division.
Yeah. Astros are 12-22. Dan in Dallas says this about the Red Raiders this weekend and this season. The season is sure not what we wanted, but I see invaluable experience for these young pitchers. They should be ahead and even more ready for next season.
You hope that the experience that they're getting is going to pay off. You also hope that that they're going to be Red Raiders again next year. I mean, that's obviously something you have to think about now. But absolutely, Dan, I think you make a good point. I mean, you look at, you went from Mac Hewer to Parker Hutera yesterday to start the game, and you went freshman, and then you see you had 2 freshmen in your starting lineup hitting wise as well. So yeah, it's a lot of experience for those guys, and you hope it does pay off down the road.
Somebody says this, and you commented, but maybe for the whole class, OU plays the game right.
Well, I definitely think they do offensively. I mean, first off, they have guys that. Just a great example. Spikerman yesterday, homers, and then his next at bat, he bunts for a base hit. They put pressure on you in so many different ways offensively on the base paths. They run with a reckless abandon. I think there's I don't think I did a great job of it yesterday, but I talked about it a little bit. Just the fact that there's a cockiness and arrogance to the way that they run the bases, and it's they put so much pressure on you to make plays, and they're playing the percentages that more times than not you're not going to make the plays, and that happened with the Red Raiders this weekend. And it's not always sound the way they run the bases, but I think it's at this level it puts a lot of pressure on teams, and they make you be good defensively, and it works for them. So Reggie Willits is one of their assistant coaches, and he was a great base stealer and all that in Major League Baseball, and he's done a terrific job with the Sooners in that regard. I look at this Oklahoma team, and because they've got powerful guys in their lineup, and then they got guys that can run and do the little things on offense and hit for average, and I think their offense can do great things. I think their pitching is pretty average, so I don't know that I see them as a major threat, like, to make it to the championship round of the College World Series a couple years ago. I don't know if I would pencil them as an Omaha team or anything like that. I don't think I would, because I think like I said, I think their pitching is just kind of average. But I really like the way they play the game on offense.
Is that the aggressiveness on the base pass? Is that a change for them, or is that? Would you say that's kind of typical?
Not in this regime. It's not. Yeah. That's kind of who they've been.
Typical for them. We get this game and series did not come our way, but Texas Tech never quit yesterday. One less error, and they would have beaten Oklahoma. Enjoyed being at the games this year at Rip Griffin Park.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you could say that for 6, 7, 8 games this year. Take away one error. Defense was definitely a problem, or has been a problem. It was for you at home, was for you on the road. Mistakes just really costly. Friday night it was as bad as I've seen Texas Tech baseball look that I can remember. You've been blown out before in games where you just had a hot pitcher and your pitchers didn't have it. But they're just the amount of errors that you saw, and just didn't look like a lot of fight. So it made me happy to see them battle back on Saturday and show that there is some life, and show that there is some want to and some care and all that. And I thought you showed plenty of that Saturday at the end of the game, and I thought you showed it all day yesterday. Yesterday was actually a pretty entertaining baseball game if you want to get down to it. Unfortunately, your team didn't come out on top, but I think there was some guys that were showing there's still a lot of fight left in this team, and that was good to see. These are the kind of things you say when you're looking for moral victories in a weekend that you didn't play well.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
Nobody should be super happy about any of those things, and I don't think anybody is.
Yeah.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
With Jamie Lent and Brendan Riker, I'm Chuck Heinz. Jeff's out today. He'll be back tomorrow, 6 o'clock tonight. High School Fan Zone, Coronado, Estacado, Lubbock High, and Monterey all come to visit the High School Fan Zone. Also tonight at 6, it's Red Raider Baseball with Tim Tadlock. 8 o'clock tonight, the Rangers pregame with Balls and Strikes at 8:40. They won 2 of 3 over the weekend. Okay? Let's see. Couple things here from the Yates Flooring Center chat line with regard to Texas Tech baseball. Did TJ Pompey's strong start and subsequent downturn just cause him to press and ultimately let the pressure crush him? Doesn't seem to be the same kid as of late.
Chuck, you know how I'm a big body language guy, and those are things that I notice a lot, or I feel like I tend to notice. I don't know if that's more or less than other guys, but other people. But I don't see any change whatsoever in TJ. He's not looked to me like a guy who is. He's not looked like he's pressing. I think there is some sense of teams, got the scouting report on him and have attacked his weaknesses. And I'm talking about the offensive side of things right now. And then he's not been able to adjust as quick and as well as you would like him to. And that's obviously something that, I'm sure he'll get a ton of at-bats playing collegiate summer ball this year, and that's something he's got to work on. And he's got to do a better job of laying off the breaking balls low. There's no doubt about that. Defensively, I think he just looks like a guy who's lost his confidence. Okay, he looks like a guy who's lost his confidence. But just watch him when he's out there. Watch him before the pitch. He's as dialed in and engaged. Watch him take batting practice and see how intense he is. Every ball that's hit to him, how they take BP. And
sure.
So, one guy's pitching to the hitter, and then you got 2 coaches on the side, and they're hitting ground balls to the infielders. And TJ takes, he's how I would want my kid to be. He takes every ground ball serious, okay? you'll see other guys out there kind of, joking around, playing one behind the back, throwing a bounce throw, going through the motions. TJ is as dialed in as anybody, it looks like, on the team during those times. So I don't think that's him pressing. I think that's just who he is, but maybe there's truth to that, right? And that maybe he gets in his own head because of it. But he looks like he's lost his confidence defensively. Even one of the plays where he made yesterday, you could just see it was where it just felt like he was straining. It just wasn't comfortable, and he didn't look calm and relaxed. And I've heard Coach Tadlock talk about how hard he works and how much he cares and all those things, and that's the kind of guy that you want to root for, and that's the kind of guy that it hurts your soul to watch him struggling like he is right now, both offensively and defensively. And I always feel for a coach in that situation because what do you want to do? You want to bench the guy, okay, and say, okay, go sit down for a while, or do you want to say, Hey, we got you, man. We're behind you. We believe in you. Yeah, work through it. And so I think that's a difficult thing for a manager to do, a head coach, depending on what sport you're playing in, because you want to back your guys and you want to show them support, and it's confidence that they need and all that. But he's really going through a rough time, and there's no doubt it's cost you some games this year. I would be lying if we would be lying if we didn't admit that. His error in the first cost you 2 runs, another throw in the game later that should have been made that was wild. It's go back to the BYU game. This has been the team as a whole this year. We've seen this team find ways to lose, and it happened again yesterday, and it's been Pompey a few times, but if you look at the overall numbers, you're impressed with what he's done in his freshman year. If I told you he was going to hit eight homers and drive in 45 at the end of the year, or at the beginning of the season, you'd probably said, hey, it's a good freshman year. He's going to be a talented guy, whatever. But when I tell you he's 0 for his last 29 in Big 12 play and 1 for 37 overall, you think, man, that's a serious struggle. So I don't know. I think he's shown that he's a really talented guy, but he's got to make some adjustments. He's got to learn to hit at this level, and so teams have the scouting report on him, and now he has to adjust back.
Do you think they've considered sitting him down for a game or two just to let him?
They did during the game yesterday.
Okay, I missed that part. I was with you till about the 7th or so last night, and he may have been replaced at that point in time, but I think
it was before that.
I think I was kind of drifting a little bit yesterday.
Burns hit for him in the 4th.
Okay. Because somebody had asked this question, I wonder what would happen if Coach Tadlock had made a mound visit and then replaced Pompey at second base. You don't want to embarrass the young man.
Yeah, that's exactly what you would have done there. You would have totally embarrassed him.
And you don't want to crush him, or you're dealing with, you think a really talented player that can help you moving forward, and the last thing you want to do is basically
the only time you're going to do that is if you see a guy not hustling or whatever. You're not going to do that in the middle of an inning.
Yeah, the last
or if you're in the situation where like you're in the 9th and it's tied and they've got the go ahead run at 3rd with less than 2 outs, and you're going to put an outfielder in here who's got a stronger arm or something like that. You're not going to take a guy out in the middle and embarrass him.
The last time that I can recall that happening was like in the '73 World Series. Charlie Finley, the owner of the A's, tried to fire an infielder. I believe his name was Mike Andrews. I think he was a second baseman. He had made a couple of errors, and Charlie Finley tried to literally fire him during the World Series, and the commissioner overruled him.
Yeah, somebody on the chat line says Tadlock admitted he should have benched him earlier in his press conference. Tim Tadlock will tell you, I don't think he hides it, that one of his flaws is that sometimes he backs his players too much. He believes in his guys that, hey, they're going to work through it. Okay, he gives them a chance to work through it, and I think that's the way he would want to be coached, and that's the way he coaches. And sometimes that has worked out great. for Coach Tadlock, where guys have come through and turned it around, and sometimes, like in TJ's situation now, it's cost the team a little bit. So it's, if that's the biggest flaw for Tim Tadlock, that he supports his guys and backs them, I think he's still got a pretty good coach. But that is definitely one thing that he has admitted, and we've seen it over the years. This is not the first time where a guy's in a slump. He's not just going to yank him. He's going to stick with him and give him a chance to work through it. Yeah.
I don't agree with this statement. I think you've been pretty candid and pretty honest, Jamie, whether it's been on the air during the games or here. Somebody says the program has been in a steady decline for several years. I don't know about steady decline, and the local media refuses to acknowledge it. I don't agree with that. I think we've documented the losses. I mean, it's not like if they lost, we didn't talk about it, right? And I think you've been pretty candid about some of your thoughts on why it hasn't gone well this year and even last year. So.
Yeah, some people, there's a couple guys here on the chat line that every single day text us that they think Tim Tadlock should be fired. They think that the whole coaching staff should be gone. They think they've done a terrible job. It's the same two guys every single day, and you're welcome to it. Have fun. Do your thing. Doesn't mean that we all have to agree with you.
Jamie's question of the day is next. We'll get to more baseball and some thoughts here from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. There's a couple of things I want to bring up as well.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Next, Jamie's question of the day.
Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, we're going to talk some Red Raider football, really Big 12 football as a whole. Haven't gotten into football at all today, Chuck. I want you to tell me the team in the Big 12 conference that you don't feel like is getting enough love, that you think may be better or might be better than their kind of preseason hype for them. Worries you a little bit. It can be a team that's on the schedule for the Red Raiders, or maybe one that's not.
It's not getting enough love. I feel it's funny because as I was tooling around yesterday, this wasn't the specific discussion, but it was pretty close to it. And I guess they were talking about the Vegas over/under win totals. Okay, and they felt like that Oklahoma State was going to be better than what Vegas was saying. And I can't remember what the specific number was. I think Vegas had Oklahoma State at around 7 wins or so. Okay, a little over 7. I'm not going to say Oklahoma State because I think they've been getting plenty of love. I mean, we've talked about their running back coming back and then getting another one, and their quarterback, Alan Bowman, 7th-year guy, and they talked about all the production on offense and defense that's coming back. So I don't think I'm gonna say them. Maybe a team that just seems to kind of ride below that publicity line a little bit, maybe for us. And this will be their second year in the Big 12, but I think it's BYU.
Okay.
I think maybe BYU, because I think BYU, over the test of time, they would consider themselves a steady Eddie in terms of their production, right? I mean, I think they would consider themselves as a pretty good football program and a football program per se. So I'm going to say BYU.
Hi, Brennan.
I'm going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks. I think for what they've been doing the past couple years, that program's on a rise, and I don't think anyone's really paying attention to them in the offseason, but I think a healthy Kansas team this upcoming season could make a lot of noise in the new Big 12. So my pick's going to be Kansas.
All right. I think less is expected of Oklahoma State this year, and I do worry about them a little bit, being a good team. I think last year kind of got me into the mode of stop doubting Mike Gundy. It just feels like every year he finds a way to get his team near the top of the conference standings, so there's a lot of respect there. So I don't think Oklahoma State is a bad answer. I don't think Kansas is a bad answer either. I think that's a team that could be near the top of the standings if they can just keep their quarterback healthy. I don't know about BYU. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of momentum going right now with that program. I thought you were going to steal my answer when you said it's a team in the second year in the Big 12, because I'm going with UCF.
Okay, I think that's probably a better. That's probably better.
I
answer.
feel like UCF with a lot returning from last year's squad. I think that, again, ever since they got into the conference, I felt like that was a team that the conference would boost them up. It would help them in recruiting, those kind of things. And so I think that will continue as players say, I can be in Orlando, I can play in a major conference, all the above, whether that be guys from the state of Florida or guys or from other states. So I think UCF is the team that going into this season, I expect to keep taking steps forward. Last year they ended up 6-7, just barely made it into a bowl, 3-6 in conference play, but I expect them to get better.
I think you're probably right in terms of us kind of sitting here maybe 3 or 4 years from now, or even somebody that's sitting here 10 years from now might say, man, I sure hate the day we brought in UCF, because it put them on the mark, right? It put them, in the forefront. And who knows what will be left of the Big 12, or maybe the Big 12 will become a big, huge, powerful, there'll be 3 conferences left, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC, for all we know. For all we know, Texas Tech could be in the SEC. People have suspected that, with a potential demise of the Big 12, with the Big 10 and the SEC gobbling up teams, and you just kind of have this 2 big or 3 big super conferences along those lines. Yeah, I think UCF could be a factor. No, you're probably right about BYU, but you were looking for something below the radar, and so I was that's below the radar.
Well, BYU is below the radar, yeah. And who knows? I mean, you're right. They've been a good team across their history, and you would think that being in the Big 12 helps them with recruiting as well, but I'm not sure.
I would think. 7:37 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Take your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Somebody asked this question: changing gears to football, has Joey McGuire made any bold predictions for the team yet? And then in parenthesis, please no with praying hands. No, I think he's been, for him, I think he's been pretty low key this year.
Is that surprising?
No, not kind of. They were pretty bold last year on a number of different points. And we haven't seen that as much this year. Whether it's in the spring practice discussions or just the stuff that you hear from him being around town. He spoke last week at the Day of Prayer. I didn't go to that event, so I don't know if there were any kind of bold proclamations made there, or any big ask. That would be a day for a big ask, a National Day of Prayer. If you're going to have a big ask, I think that'd be a day to ask, but maybe not. Maybe that's not appropriate. I was just kind of trying to be funny there, just for a second.
Yeah, I would think it's not.
Yes, they would think it's not.
They would think that would bring you bad karma.
Right, probably so. I know that he hosted an event over the weekend, so I don't know if there were any big, and it was a public event, public-private event. I don't know if there are any big proclamations there. He's going to be at the golf tournament today that the fellas are going to be at. Hopefully somebody will have a chance to, I think we'll have a chance to talk to him at some point in time today. So maybe ask for a big, bold proclamation.
Okay. So you never really answered my question. I'll answer it myself.
No.
No, I'm not surprised. Okay. You had a down year. Mm-hmm. Okay. Your fan base continued to remind you of bold statements that you made, and they've been now thrown back in your face. And you had that down year, and so when you have a down year, to be a little more timid, right?
Yeah.
Be a little, be a little bit under the radar. So no, I'm not surprised that he has not made random bold statements. No matter all of the 78 places Chuck just mentioned that he's been, I'm not surprised that he didn't make any bold proclamations.
I will concur with you. I'll agree with you. That was a good question, and I failed to answer it.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
We've been pretty baseball heavy today, but that's understandable. We're in baseball season, and not the best couple of weekends that we've had here the last couple of weekends. Good morning with Jamie Lent and Brennan Riker. I'm Chuck Heinz. Coming up at 9, special treat today, as it's always a treat when Jeff Haxton and David Collier are on with the end of the bench on 100.7.
Absolutely.
The score, award-winning program.
It's like it's like ice cream with whipped cream and a cherry on top.
Or it's like a cone that you dip, one of those dipped cones,
Well, there's definitely a couple of dips going on there.
Dip the chocolate. But they'll
and sooner Collier will be riding high. So.
Yes, he will. Chip in for children golf tournament benefiting Covenant Children's today. The fellas there will be out at the golf course today at Lubbock Country Club. It's basically a fun time. The money's already been paid. They're just a bunch of celebrities and folks around town that getting together, help raise some money, and Jeff and David will be out there, and we'll have some special guests on throughout the morning, and then into this afternoon with the bottom line as well with Choice Woodman, Chris Sneed, Jamie Lent, all those guys will be out there today out at Lubbock Country Club. So if you're playing, look for them. Let's see. D-Rock says this, yes, Collier's for sure a dipped cone, LOL.
I don't find David at all to be, I think it's just his personality. I don't find him to be an obnoxious Sooner fan. No. He's just not that vocal about anything. So
I thought we were I thought we were going to see something I thought I saw something this morning that I didn't think I would really ever see. And then as it turned out, I was wrong about it. When I got to the stoplight, I was on the Sharpabahn this morning, and this car passed me, and I went, "Whoa, man! Apocalypse! Hell is frozen over." Jamie Lent just passed me, and I got up to the stoplight, and I looked at the car next to me, and I thought, "Well, why is he in the left-hand lane if that's Jamie?" And I looked, and it didn't appear to be you. And then when it turned left, it wasn't you. So I thought maybe for a moment that you had surpassed me on the Sharpabahn this morning, and I was like, "Man, that would have been a first." Jamie, hustling past me on the way to work. Not that you haven't beaten me to work, because you have from time to time, but you've not ever just sped by me. I have sped by you. I have cut you off.
This morning.
I didn't speed by you this morning, did I?
You went by me this morning.
Oh, I didn't.
I don't know that you were speeding.
No, I was probably going the speed limit. See, here it was. I thought you had passed me. Let's see. If you weren't baseball heavy after getting completely embarrassed with back-to-back sweeps, something would be wrong. Yeah, that's probably true. As much as it pains me to say this, I really like Oklahoma's brand of baseball. They are really solid and constantly put pressure on you. They have owned you recently. Wish Coach Tadlock would incorporate some of that.
I agree with most of that. You won 3 of 4 against them last year.
Yeah, and that's what this person points out. Somebody else pointed that out as well. I was just reading the entire text.
Yeah, but I agree. I like the way they play on offense, no doubt.
Jamie, I have a question about seeding for the tournament that actually matters. I understand that Tech is out. This is for the NCAA. If you looked at it right now, you'd probably have to say that. But why don't you ever hear about them getting a 4 seed? We are not good, but we're also one of the best 64 teams in the country. Stolen bids, ?
I think it's just like when you're talking about the NCAA basketball tournament, those 4 seeds are going to the teams that we know aren't the top 64 teams in the country, but they're those smaller conferences that get an automatic bid and they get in. Yeah. It's not about being the best 64 or 68 when we're talking about the NCAA basketball tournament, because there's so many of those teams that are the automatic qualifiers that are not nearly as good as maybe teams 40 through 70, but they're getting in front of them because of the automatic bids.
Yeah. Somebody asked this question: are you saying NIL in the Matador Club? Well, yes, that's exactly right. And let's remember too that baseball doesn't have a full complement of scholarships to give out like other sports do. So in essence, not only, and this is not just Texas Tech, this is every Division I baseball program, they have X number of scholarships, okay? And so not everybody they just get a piece of it. I mean, some of them don't even get much more than a quarter or whatever. But when everybody else...
A lot of them are getting nothing.
Yeah, and a lot of them are getting nothing. They're paying to go to school here. And so on top of that, you have other schools within the Big 12, maybe that are ahead of you, or in other conferences as well, SEC and the Big 10 and the ACC, et cetera, that are able to pay for their players more, whether it's because they've made a decision as a school to invest more in baseball than in certain other sports. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is that's what you're competing against. And so you may have to change some of that philosophy to keep up with where you have been, and to get ahead of where you've been or get back to where you have been. So it's become a financial game in addition to everything else. It's not the arms race is really now more of a money bag race more than anything else. I mean, you can have the best facilities in the world, but doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the best players in the world, because now it matters how much those players are getting for themselves financially. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. 8:21 this morning here on the Morning Drive. I guess if you could, and we're not ready to put the postmortem on the season yet, but if you looked at it right now, what you could control, Jamie, is there something that if they could take control of not giving up the extra outs, or not giving up the errors, or not giving up the additional walks? That didn't seem to be as big a factor, the free passes this weekend, as the errors or even the quote extra outs or not making the plays. That seemed to be kind of the bigger factor this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there were some unearned runs. I mean, if I could change one thing about the team, it wouldn't be the unearned runs. I mean, I guess it would probably start with make sure everybody stays healthy. But again, I would probably go with the clutch hitting. I mean, I think your batting average was somewhere around 200 with runners in scoring position this weekend. The funny part is you had 2 hits yesterday with runners in scoring position, and 2 for 12, and the 2 hits that you got didn't score runs.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way baseball goes. Moved a runner from second to third on one, and a guy was thrown out at the plate on the other.
Yeah.
So I still think, I mean, you had 3 shots last night. Yesterday with runners at second and third, nobody out. You need one of those 3 guys to get a hit. And the worst part about it is the first guy didn't even advance. So the second guy puts a ball in play and gets a run home to make it a 1-run game. But if the first guy does the same thing, you're tied and you give yourself a chance to win it in extras, whatever. But you didn't get it done. But you had 3 guys. And I feel like, Chuck, there's certain things that broadcasters say probably way too much. And they're all somewhat goofy, and like you've heard it a million times. Oh, this is the exact guy you want up in this situation. There's probably nobody better to have. Like in that situation, who's the guy?
You don't have that guy this year.
I don't know that you do. Individuals have been good at times, but you've never really had a dude carry this team this year. You never really have had anybody just go off. Damian Bravo had a great start to the season, but I just don't know who you look at as that clutch guy that's the guy that shines in this position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that guy is. You just haven't had that, and I think that's part of the reason why you've lost so many close games.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.